as AI.
Goodbye, Tiffany. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'm going to hang out just for a few minutes, just in case.
Okay. I call the meeting to order. We have a quorum.
Tiffany, has Harry been made a co-host?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
No, he hasn't.
Harry, I thought I did.
I'm a co-host. It says, yeah, it's co-host.
Oh, okay.
It
Doesn't mind. It doesn't mind, so that's fine.
Dick is a co-host. I'm a co-host. You're
Yeah,
a co-host.
that's what I asked.
Right.
The two of you let people in, please.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. If Dick, would you continue to offer a motion for the minutes?
Yes, I will. We've come to order, and there is a quorum visible. You just pull up. Harry Bors.
Yes.
Sean Lynn Jones.
Are we voting to approve the minutes?
No.
Or are we just saying that we're here?
No, I'm voting to approve the minutes.
No, we're okay. I'm just confirming a quorum. Sean present. Kate.
There is a quorum, Dick. Please.
Okay, good. So the minutes of May 28th, 2025 were previously circulated. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All in favor, please say aye. Kate Poverman.
Aye.
Jean Berg.
Aye.
Harry Bors.
Aye.
Sean Lynn Jones.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
And you'll submit them for us?
Yes.
Okay.
I will forward them to Tiffany. Are you the proper person?
You can send them to Kate. I'm
send them to Kate.
Today.
Dick, send them to Kate, please.
I will. Okay. I will.
Yeah, she'll take care of
them. Send them to both.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. So Sean is going to take us briefly through, or maybe not briefly, however he's going to do it, through the warrant articles and suggesting 1 or 2 or 3 articles that he thinks we should consider, and then the committee members may have other articles they wish to add. Sean, you go.
I will certainly try to be brief, and will note that Director of Human Resources Ann Braga is here, who may be able to say more about one of the articles on the warrant. Just a reminder, since we're talking about which articles this committee might consider and review for the upcoming town meeting, the bylaw language is quite succinct and relatively clear. The Committee on Town Organization and Structure shall be responsible for reviewing and reporting its recommendations on all proposed changes in the organization and structure of municipal government in the town. The bylaws go on to say that we can also propose our own changes, but since we're just looking at the warrant now, that sentence really describes what the bylaws charge us with as our duty. You may have looked at the warrant and the explanations as well. Just as a very brief overview, I think there are 3 articles that we should think about considering at future meetings. There may be others that are worthy of discussion, but just to summarize, there is Article 5, which would abolish the Human Resources Board. And that is the one that most likely seems to fall within our purview. Articles 11 and 12, both are related to the criteria for being on the advisory committee. And I would note with respect to those articles, although as you say in a minute, they are very narrow, we have in the not too distant past considered the broader questions of membership, the advisory committee, and responsibility of the advisory committee. And this is a smaller part of what we reviewed a few years ago when there were more significant changes. But in any case, Article 11, submitted by the Select Board, would clarify the language of the bylaw regarding who can serve. At the moment, there is language that says anyone who's on a standing board or committee having charge of the expenditure of money may not serve on the advisory committee. And the specific question in Article 11 is whether that applies to members of school building committees and whether they are permanent and what their fiscal responsibilities they have could be discussed. But town council has suggested that they meet for long enough and have sufficiently broad.
Excuse me, Sean, why don't you hold a longer discussion to when Joe comes?
Okay. But I just want to distinguish that from Article 12,
Okay,
which
thank
is
you.
a broader discussion of the issue that doesn't focus on school building committees and just tries to clarify the language of the bylaw as it pertains to permanent committees to say what they are. So in a way, they get at the same question, but differently. And I just wanted to point out that there are these relationships. This may be an either or question. It may be a matter of combining them, but certainly I think we would think about these issues together in the ensuing discussion. So those are the three that strike me as most likely candidates, abolishing the HRB, and the two that change the criteria. Actually slightly, maybe broaden it or clarify the criteria for serving on the advisory committee. Beyond those two, there may be others that are worthy of discussion, but in my opinion, at least, they are not so clearly within the purview of this committee. There's a very extensive article submitted by the town clerk, and it is an article because town meeting did not delegate the authority to the town clerk to make numerous changes to the wording of the bylaws. Most of these, I think, would fall into the housekeeping category, not or changes in organization or structure. But we have talked about at this committee before amendments to the bylaws that change resident or citizen or gender wording, and maybe this falls into the same category. There's also a resolution that would request that the information about the town's constables be posted on the town website. It's not there, or if it is there, it's extremely hard to find. And the resolution submitted by several of the constables would call upon the website to include much more information, such as contact information on the town constables. As I see it, the remainder of the articles, and that one incidentally was Article 14 that I just described. The remaining articles are questions of a few cases, budget, regulation, zoning, and resolutions on various broad and narrow topics that probably don't fall within the purview of the committee. So we can discuss each of these. We can ask Anne Braga to say more about Article 5, which would abolish the Human Resources Board. And I don't think we have a petitioner for any of the other articles here, whether the representative of the Select Board or Jocelyn Murphy for Articles 11 and 12.
All right, anyone else on the committee have any additional articles they want to talk about?
I do not.
I do not.
I do have a question about Article 14, but I do not have any additional.
Do you want to make the question, to give the question?
Yeah, and this actually may be a question for Anne. It may be a question for town council. The way that the article is phrased, while it is ostensibly designed to have the constables' names or contact information, the way that the resolution is framed, it's the contact information of all elected town officials, including town constables, shall be prominently listed on the Town of Brookline's website and shall be provided upon request, and so forth and so on. And I am wondering whether that may well cause issues with people who are quote unquote town officials. I understand why the constables want to be listed. But I'm wondering if there's some overbreadth in this article as drafted. And that is, I don't think that it's really something that this committee needs to take up, but I know that phone numbers for a lot of board members are not listed, for example. And I'm wondering whether there are privacy concerns or other concerns that people may have.
Dick, I mean, I don't, we need an extended discussion, but of course the resolution says elected town officials, which narrows it compared to appointed officials. And related to that, and I'm not sure exactly what we want to make of this, I will point out that when the town clerk posts the names of potential and actual candidates for town meeting and other town offices, including the various town-wide offices, for a while at least, you see the address and the email address and maybe even the phone number for anyone who has decided to run for office. So if someone wants to get a screenshot of that quickly before the election, they will know that information. And usually for elected officials, there's some contact information, even if it's a town address as opposed to a private email address.
Shame on me for not reading more closely.
Well, I would also note town meeting members are already listed, and honestly, tracking down somebody's address and phone number is not a
Not that difficult.
task,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can Google it.
But I don't know that we necessarily need to take up Article 14.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not.
Just as an FYI, your booklet that you have that is the organization of town government has the elected members of town meeting, as well as like select board and advisory with their contact information in there. So
Look,
I think it was strictly around the constables
okay.
having their stuff out there.
Thank you.
I
We
stand
can conclude
corrected.
Let's get back to. All right,
Okay.
since Ann is here, and let's. Does the committee agree that we're going to look into the one that the select board is? This is a select board article, correct?
Yes, they've adopted it and added it to the warrant.
So Sean, you want to lead this discussion?
Well, I think it would be
And one
better
other thing
for-
about it, excuse me,
Yeah.
one other thing. Is there anybody from the board, on the board, that we should be contacting? Or did we contact?
When we get into the conversation, I may suggest that we also hear from somebody on the board. I'm thinking somebody like
And somebody who-
Angelo, who's been there a long time. I
Yeah,
know.
and also, Harry, somebody who might have an issue with not having a board to talk to. This is Brookline.
Yeah, I think these are all good points for the discussion. Yep.
Yeah, okay, so Sean, take it away with Ann.
Well, I think I'll just turn it over to Anne and hope that she will be concise in laying out the reasons why this article is being, it was on the warrant and was added actually late in the process by the select board for the upcoming town meeting, instead of having me say it and having her repeat it. And probably would be better to direct questions to her.
All right, one thing before you start, and I did broadcast your emails to the members of the committee, but I doubt they had time to really absorb all that. So you can keep that in mind. The one you sent 2 hours, about 2:00 in the afternoon today.
Okay, I think I had sent you information as it went on the warrant, but I sent the latest version today just in case. I do have a 6-slide presentation, including a cover slide if someone wants to make me a co-host, or I can just walk you through it, whichever you prefer.
You can walk us through it, it's fine.
Okay.
All right.
So the warrant article 5 would dissolve the HR board and replace the 3 main functions, which are grievances, class and compensation, and policy review, with a more streamlined process. In the case of policy review and class and compensation, it would start in HR, go through to town administration and legal where appropriate, and then gets voted on by the select board in a public meeting to either authorization to hire for jobs or adoption of HR policies. So it would just take out that middle step of going to the HR board in between. That is not the bread and butter of the HR board's activities in my 6.5 years of experience. The bulk of the time that we spend is on grievances, and that is relatively. So we meet less than 10 times a year. If we do not have a grievance, it is less than a half an hour. Our jobs are voted by a consent agenda motion, and policy review has been where we have formed the policy, had legal look at it, as well as our relevant departments, and then go to the HR board because it's required by the bylaw to vote on it before it goes to the select board, where it's at least 2 meetings before it is voted on. We do a preliminary meeting where we do an overview. We get any comments, questions, and things like that from the select board. And then at a later meeting, when those questions are reviewed and answered, the select board will take a final vote on it. So that's the public participation for policies. For grievances, our most frequent source of grievances is the fire union, followed by AFSCME. And we have reached out to all of the unions. So once this was put on the warrant, I sent out a communication to all the presidents of the unions to say, here's the information, here's what it does and doesn't do, so that the petitioner article description that you have. And I said, I'm available to meet to discuss any concerns. Fire is taking it up at their next monthly meeting, which is the beginning of next month, and will be back to me with any concerns that they have. Why do this? One is that the HR board was formed in 1947 when human resources was just being developed as a profession and as a responsibility of municipal and state government. And since then, the professionalization of the field has been significant and the scope of responsibilities has increased. Part of this reflects that. Increased agility and responsiveness, because we would not have to wait to schedule a board meeting, and we would be able to deal with these things within the staff and the union and employee relationships. We're able to streamline the resolution of grievances as well as classification of jobs. We can align with more modern HR practices. So we did a multi-city survey or multi-community survey of 18 other communities in and around Brookline, 7 that have HR boards and 11 that do not. Of the 7, only 3 get any feedback on personnel policies. Most of the other communities use contracted services for class and comp, while we still do most of ours in-house. And none of the 18 communities use the HR board as a step in the grievance process for union employees. And I'll send you the slide deck afterwards, but it lists the communities. They include Arlington, Concord, Milton, Natick, Needham, Wellesley, as well as some cities in the area as well, both smaller and larger. And finally, looking at our HR board, Ed D'Angelo has recently stepped off the board after 25 years of service. The current 3 remaining board members have been members of the board for 25 years. This is not to say anything negative about the service that they provide to us in human resources or the town generally. They have been a great support to us to be able to go through and do grievances as well as policies and job classifications. But this is to streamline the processes, given that our board members have served for 25 years And we have had one opening open for more than a year without any applicants. And the second one to date has not garnered any applicants as well. I can answer any questions you have related to that. The only other piece that I will mention is that this does not foreclose options for the unions to be able to go to Civil Service Commission where they need to go to arbitration, to go to Department of Labor Relations, the DLR, to litigate. None of those things change. What
Who
it
has
changed.
civil service now?
Well, so fire still has civil service, and existing police officers who were hired before we get out of civil service are still eligible to go to civil service in the areas of discipline. So it's a smaller category, but they have those options still available. So it doesn't forestall any of those options. It just changes the steps in the grievance process. Our goal and what we've been working with the unions on is a more collaborative working relationship where we have gotten agreement to, for example, in many occasions, be able to put a grievance in abeyance at step 1 to be able to work it out so we don't have to go to step 2. And we've been successful in doing that. We hope that that continues, but it's the step 2 and step 3 process are still available.
Jean, I have one comment and one question, if I could go
Sure,
first.
go ahead.
Open to the rest of the committee.
We'll go around the room. Go ahead.
My comment, and this is not really, the best time for an extended discussion, is just, previous experience suggests that sometimes when an article is added to the warrant at the last minute, it may not have been reviewed or vetted by everyone who might have an interest. And we will, of course, have a public hearing. This is not a public hearing. And if there are people who have opinions for or against, they will, presumably come forward, whether they're unions, staff members, select board members, for that matter, members of the public and town meeting members. So that's just a comment. We'll have a process, even though this was added fairly late, to make sure that all the views are aired. My question, a very specific question, is why now is this article being put forward? Because some of the arguments you made sound like they would have been equally valid 5 years ago or maybe even earlier. And is there a reason for the timing?
The timing now is that we do have 2 vacancies. All of the other arguments would not, you're right, would not change from 5 years ago or when I first started. But also, at the same time, the town has been considering in a very conscientious way how they want to do business on a writ large scale, whether it's town versus city or what any of that looks like. And that in sort of having it occur at the same time where we have 2 vacancies out of 5 seemed to make sense. I know that there are other things that are structural that may be coming down the road from other departments. And to respect the bandwidth for town meeting to be able to handle organizational change in smaller pieces as opposed to writ large, is why we brought it forward.
Okay. And just as a footnote, I also understand and empathize with a more general desire to have fewer boards and commissions in Brookline's town government. And maybe this is part of a bigger picture, just looking at what we need and what we don't need, because when you go to the town website, you see a tremendous amount of boards, committees, and commissions, some of which don't meet very often and some of which may be very important. But that's just a little comment there. I'm sure other members of the committee have questions, but bear in mind, of course, we're not debating this issue. We're just trying to figure out whether this article is worthy of our consideration.
We can debate it. Harry?
You're muted, Harry.
Yep, there we go. I was locked. Sure, a couple. I'll save my question for the end, which is pretty straightforward. But I just wanted to mention something. When I looked through this, through the changes. So speaking generally, pay and classification seems to me is a managerial function, assuming that you have the expertise there, and it sure seems like we have the expertise there. So that just seems pretty straightforward to me. I think the real issue in all of this is the grievance component. And if there's a necessity for it or a high desirability to that portion. I found it very interesting that you said of the 18 communities that you looked at, but of course, you know, it's like any study, you get to select who you want in the study, that they don't use it for grievances. What I noticed in the markup, and I think even some things that hadn't been marked up but are already here that sort of caught my attention, is the amount of time for somebody to file a grievance, which is 15 calendar days, which just sort of struck me as, and that's for appeals, and that same amount is used in each place, which just, it struck me as a little bit short. If somebody feels they have a grievance, or they're not sure, or they feel pressured within their department. I mean, there's a lot of emotions that can go into it. You know, they may be going on vacation, they may be ill for a week. They may want to be able to sit down with their sister and have a conversation and sort of work through, you know, all of these sort of things. And it just seems like 2 weeks, 2 or 15 calendar days is kind of short. So I'm just throwing that out there, and I don't know that that can even be remedied, even if we really wanted to in this article, and I don't know that we want to, but I just throw that out. The other thing that I noticed in here, in terms of the grievances, if I can find the page, which kind of, I think, went to the concept of why we had the HR board take up grievances. And it's not in this note, so I'm not going to quote it. Is that I noticed that the HR board, you're prohibited from having people that are, say, on the advisory committee, the select board, things like that. I mean, it really is written to be an independent board and kind of be at arm's length from everybody else who's involved in government. And I can understand generally the appeal of having something like that when there's a grievance, that everybody else is sort of in the same little club over on Washington Street, and that this is really kind of arm's length. So I sort of appreciate that aspect. Again, I don't know how much we really do get from it, even if the concept seems to make sense. And so that leads me kind of to the question I have around this. And I'll have other questions if we can get people from the board when we do a hearing. But there have been times when the board has considered grievances. I don't know how often or the nature of all of them. You had mentioned that even if the HR board isn't involved in the grievance process, people still could, after they've exhausted the other, quote, remedies, could go to something like civil service or what have you. I'm assuming that the only difference with having the HR board in or out is, even if you eventually go to that outside appeal, it's just one less layer, but it doesn't forestall you.
It would be a different layer. So the proposal has department head, HR, and town administrator or designee, you know, in the second and third steps. It would just mean that you go through that process would be different than what it currently is in going to the HR board. We have had decisions come out on two different sides of a same topic with the HR board, and they've both gone to arbitration. And
even without the HR board, you still could.
Yep.
Okay. So then my other question then is, what is the HR board's track record in terms of finding an accommodation that kept it from going off to arbitration or going off to civil service or something like that, that by the time it gets to the HR board, it's gone through a couple of other steps. And
Only gone through one other step, Harry.
okay,
It's only
and
gone through the
everyone's not happy at that point. So now it's going to the HR board. Kind of what is their batting average for coming up with a consensus so that we can get to yes on both sides? Is that something that often occurs, or it generally winds up being somebody appeals it higher anyway?
So, my experience has been when the union is not happy with the step 2 grievance, in other words, that the grievance denial was upheld, which is sort of the term of art for step 2. Many times those go to arbitration.
Okay.
So when the union's not happy, they go. The town will make a strategic decision in many times to not go to arbitration and just be like, we're just going to let it go. We make a strategic decision and we manage it. The decision from the HR board is not to come up with a consensus or to mediate it. It is to answer one question. Has the town violated the collective bargaining agreement by making this decision, whatever the decision is? And the answer is yes or no.
Okay.
And that's the narrow scope of the question at step 2.
Okay. So
What
it's a
I
very
talked about
technical...
earlier about trying to get to a negotiated answer is to where at step 1, the agreement is to have the grievance be put in abeyance, which is allowed under mutual agreement. And then the department and HR work on a resolution to eliminate the need to go to step 2.
Okay, so for the HR board, it is a very narrow technical exercise for them, and it is not about negotiating.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Kate?
So, I want to clarify one thing. So when you were talking about the other towns and those who heard grievances and those that didn't, I thought you said that the ones who did not hear grievances, that only applied to the union cases, but they did hear. I mean, is that case, or they didn't hear any grievances?
They hear none. They are not part of the grievance process, whether it's union or non-union.
Okay, thanks. So one of the reasons I think it might make sense to get involved in this is, one, I agree with Sean Lynn Jones about the HRB doesn't need to be involved in, classification and compensation or policy. I think that is totally administrative. But what concerns me is that right now the HRB provides a system of checks and balances to protect employees' rights. We have, the HR's duty, whether it's a company or a town, is to the man. It answers. That's where its interest is to protect the town's interest, not the employee's interest. It can say it's as impartial as it can say as much as it wants that it's impartial, but it basically isn't. And having the ultimate arbiter be Chas Carey is the same thing. I think impartiality is basically impossible. No matter what, and I'm not questioning good intent at all. Also, by taking this away, you put a really big burden on the employees. If this is taken away, this informal structure of protecting their rights, they have to go to much more complicated steps to do that, whether it's the NLRB or, I don't know, what does an employee do to protect their rights if they think, rather than an internal grievance procedure, what is the next step for them? I don't know. Civil service?
After a grievance procedure, because there are grievance procedures for non-union employees as well as union employees.
Right, but if it doesn't go to the HRB, where does it go?
So it would go through similar to what is in the proposal.
No, no, excuse me, after the town, after they've lost at the town level, where can they go?
For non-represented individuals, it could be, they could look to go to arbitration or they can litigate.
Right, and that costs a lot. So now you've taken one option of either being told, yeah, it's a loser case, give it up, or yes, you're right. Immediately they have to either get a lawyer or they have to become familiar with the law, arbitration law or civil law, as to what their rights are. So it concerns me that eliminating it just shifts a huge burden onto the employees.
If I can just respond, if that's possible.
Sure.
We have not had, and I don't want to jinx myself, but we have not had any non-union cases
Oh, that's great.
come forward. In my experience and having looked at the previous years of HR board grievances, we have not had non-union cases come forward.
But that really isn't relevant.
I understand. I just wanted to answer the question as far as the scope of the potential concern based on experience.
I also want to point out that given the current administration, things are not going to go well for people trying to protect their rights. Burdens may become heavier, etc. It also could, eliminating the, I'd say, in-house options in front of the HRB, doesn't it have the possibility of increasing litigation costs in-house for town council? If they have to go to litigation, they have to defend against union actions, potential litigation. Wouldn't that be inefficient?
In-house counsel or external counsel, depending on the case, is currently employed when we go to arbitration. I would say that the inflection point is not the HR board as a decision maker at step 2 for folks to decide whether to go to arbitration or not. But I can't speak for that. But we do, we do work, both sides work because it costs, both sides, both time and money to resolve cases that go beyond the town system. But we also have complaints that go completely outside of that process if it is MCAD or EEOC or things like that as well, that don't even involve the HR board.
The point I was trying to make is if you take away the intermediate step of the HRB, it could resolve the problem, right? Without town council, outside counsel, whatever. But if it doesn't exist, then you automatically go to the expense of arbitration and mediation. That's all my point. But anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
Dick?
Yeah, I'm just trying to trace through the 3 steps in-house, and if we could.
Sure.
Just looking at the warrant article, step 1 is within the department, basically.
Correct. That would be the department head.
Right. Step 2 is an appeal to the human resource director, or the human resource department, I guess. And it refers to a labor and employee relations manager. Is that a new position, or is that a designation of somebody? Or
it is an employee in my office whose specific expertise is labor and employee relations. She does investigations. She also does staffs the HR board, and part of her role is assisting with me in resolving labor employment disagreements, whether it's grievances or it's just people behaving badly. Um,
Does she hold that role now and
Yes,
that
she does.
title now? So this is
She
just
does.
formalizing what's in place now.
Correct.
That's step 2? Okay.
Correct.
And then it seems as though the big change is in step 3, where it says if the grievance is not settled at step 2, the employee shall, within 15 calendar days, file an appeal of the step 2 decision in writing, including blah, 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 with the town administrator or their designee for adjudication. And at that point, essentially, the town administrator is substituted for the Human Resources Board. Correct?
So currently, step 2 is the Human Resources Board.
I don't think so. Not
Well,
from what I'm looking at. I mean, what's crossed out, I'm looking at the hard copy of the warrant article on page 15. And under step 3, it's what's crossed out is it shall be referred to the Human Resources Board. That is crossed out, and town administrator or their designee for adjudication is inserted.
Sounds like you and Ann are saying the same thing.
No, we're not.
So in the
Explain
original language, step 1 goes to the immediate supervisor and is done orally.
Okay.
Step 2 had been the
There's no reference in crossed out language to the Human Resources Board in step 2.
okay. Writing department head. So step 2, if you read down, it says if the grievance is not settled at step 1, the employee within 15 calendar days instead of working days shall present their grievance in writing to their supervisor, who shall forward it to the department head, who shall hold a hearing. That's step 2.
Boy,
And then step 3, right, is the HR board. I think with PH.
My copy is different, I have to say.
I'm looking at what we received in the mail from town council or from the town clerk.
for whatever reason, there seems
So
to be.
That's what I'm looking at too, Dick. Page 15 of the
Correct.
warrant.
Correct. Yeah.
If you have the version, that's the actual printout, Article 5.1, it's,
I'm looking at it now.
yeah, there are 2 versions for whatever reason, and it gets very confusing.
Okay. This. So I'm looking at warrant article 5 that I took off of the website under town meeting with warrant article descriptions.
Yeah. And I'm looking in paragraph 9 of that article, amend article 3.15, and they change 11 to 9, grievance procedure is where I'm looking.
Okay.
That one isn't redlined, is it?
It is not.
Right.
Well, what?
Mine
Yeah,
is.
Yeah.
Mine's heavily redlined.
Yeah.
That's a different version.
I
That's
took
not-
mine off of the town webpage today.
I'm also looking at the PDF that was emailed this afternoon.
That's what I
Which-
downloaded.
So it sounds like I need to figure out what version is on what you guys downloaded, because what I downloaded does not have a red line.
But what you sent today is heavily redlined.
Right. And I sent that because I had done that in Word, and then I saved it with the red lines in there because I know that when I've gone to these meetings in the past, committee members have wanted to see sort of
The
where
original,
all
yeah,
the changes
yeah.
are being done.
We have
And
to-
also to have it in different colors so they can actually see it online or print it out.
Well done.
well,
So,
yeah, you have,
So
yeah.
I'm, trying to
Look,
learn.
so getting away from the red line for 1 second, just reading
Okay.
the headers quickly, what I have is step 1, grievance department head. Step 2, appeal human resources. Step 3, final appeal town administrator. Those are the 3 headers I have.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And the prior version, the redlined version, shows that the Human Resources Board was in step 3. And it appears that the town administrator is being substituted essentially for the Human Resources Board.
Okay. I will have to look at, because we've always referred to the HR board appeal as step 2.
Okay.
So I
Yeah,
will,
and that actually was what was leading to my question as I was looking at this, because I think earlier in this meeting, you referred to going to arbitration or the Civil Service Board after step 2. And that is not consistent with what appears here.
okay.
So,
So since this is our initial conversation in this, I now know where I need to sort of get things all on the same page, and get that answered.
okay. Let me ask a practical question. I mean, this put this issue aside for a minute.
Okay.
This, I think, was a question that Harry was pursuing and touched on. Has the Human Resources Board essentially, or do you have any numbers or any history of what the Human Resources Board has done with the HR department or the departments, whether you call it step 1, step 2, or step 1.5? What has the Human Resources Board done vis-a-vis the earlier determinations? And how many cases have they overturned them, and how many cases have they modified them?
So
And just
I
so
can get you
we can
numbers.
get-
What I can tell you in trends is that more often than not, the HR board has upheld the denial by the department head on the earlier step. But I
Okay.
can get you exact numbers for.
Yeah, I mean because I think that will be, it certainly will be a salient point as this debate goes forward. Thank you. I'm done.
Do you want to, Anne, do you want to conclude anything? Because I'm going to find out if the committee wants to pursue
Wait.
this.
Wait.
I-
Kate has her hand
Can
up.
can I, yeah, I have the sort of the reverse or a related question to Dick's, which is that have HR board, HRB decisions resulted in resolution of the matter regardless of whether people are happy, i.e., have there been determinations that have not resulted in appeals to other jurisdictions?
Yes.
Okay, so could it be said that if that venue were eliminated, then, and the only appeal available that was not in the town, people would be forced, if they wanted an independent view, to go to the other jurisdictions and pay, et cetera, and the town council would have to get involved. Would that be a reasonable inference in your view?
It is possible. Know that town council represents the town on the HR board step hearings. So that town council's already involved there, just so you know.
Right, but it's not litigation. No, I mean, that's actually, I'll just, you don't have to answer.
No,
that.
I think actually, Kate, it's
I'll put
fair
some data together.
on that also. Thank you. That's a fair question. Thank you, Kate.
Okay.
Great.
I mean,
All right,
it really isn't whether or not HRB decisions are appealed, it's whether or not HRB just gets rid of the dispute. You know, if it resolves the
Right.
dispute.
Take out your calendars. I'd like to schedule a public hearing in this on October 2nd.
Just for information,
And we'll have a discussion after that. Why, is something happening on October 2nd?
It's Yom Kippur, it's Kol Nidre.
Oh, then, oops, October 3rd. Oh, but then Harry can't come. We'll be in,
so advisory, just so you know, advisory isn't even considering this until the 15th of October.
yeah, but they'll be meeting on October 3rd. That's the problem.
So I just.
Harry, how do I
don't know
do
when
this?
You want to have these meetings relative to other folks considering it and getting more information. So I just wanted to make you aware.
All right. Harry, how do I get a meeting on October 3rd? For a public
That's-
hearing on this?
That's a Friday.
It shouldn't, what's the Thursday? I had October 2nd as the Wednesday.
October 2nd is
October-
Yom Kippur.
Yeah,
I know
October-
that. I had it as
Oh,
Wednesday. I'm talking
wait.
about what is
No,
Thursday.
October 2nd
I had
is
it
a
wrong.
Thursday.
Okay,
Thursday, but that's-
The first is next Wednesday.
okay,
Right, and
so
that- I would- wait, that
October,
was-
thank you. I must be looking at 1972. October
that's-
1st, a public hearing on this, please.
No, I was wrong. I think when is Erev Yom Kippur? Did I get the date wrong? Is it the
Google
second?
it.
It's the
Google it.
second.
Yom
I have it in mind
Kippur,
as the second.
Yom Kippur starts at sundown on Wednesday, the 1st.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
that's
was
right,
wrong.
it's sundown, yeah.
So,
So, but the
yeah.
problem with the second is there's the break fast,
So-
and I would prefer not to meet, but
what about October 8th?
Our HR
Yeah.
board meeting is that night.
What time?
That's what we're discussing.
What time?
We start at 6
I will be gone
and we have a grievance.
with
Um,
us or something different.
the sixth.
Well,
Harry's
technically,
meeting,
you're not under our jurisdiction in the HR board, so
There
not
you
you.
Yeah, I'm away on the 8th. 8th to the 14th.
Did we talk about the 6th already and rule that out?
Yeah,
Monday.
What about sixth?
Harry, can you make the 6th?
Yes, I can make the 6th.
All right. Dick,
I could make the 6th.
what time do you want? At 5, 6?
I got no life. Pick a
6th.
time.
Let's go with 6th.
Oh, poor Dick.
We're gonna
Let's
make
do
a
it.
life for you, Dick. I don't know how. Harry, what time? You're really the time.
The 6th would be 6 o'clock would be better than 5.
Okay, 6 o'clock on the 6th. Is that it?
Okay.
And just in case it matters, there are 2 advisory subcommittee meetings on the 6th, one of which is talking about the 25th Amendment, and the other is talking about, renaming a ball field.
And they start at 7.
One's at 6 and one's at 7, but I think for most members of this committee, those might not be conflicts. I don't know.
I'm
I'll play
trying to
catch
get a
up.
public hearing on this, to get that part set, so we can get as much input as possible.
Yeah, I say this is more important than
Have you,
those subcommittee hearings.
well, I don't like to conflict with the advisory committee, I gotta tell you, but I don't see, I also
Actually,
Impeaching
John,
Trump
conflict
again?
with the Jewish holiday.
the
Impeaching-
advisory meeting on the 29th is, I believe, just for warrant article 17. I think your news might have been canceled. You're talking about the hearings on the two competing warrant articles?
No, I was just talking about what the advisory committee subcommittees are doing on the 6th when we might have this CTNOS meeting.
Okay.
And in case members of this committee were interested or even serving on some of those subcommittees. But it seems to me that the two warrant articles that are coming up may be less important, at least for members of this committee.
Lady and gentlemen,
The
is
6th.
October 6th at 6 when we are having a public hearing on this and a further discussion?
It's fine.
Fine.
Okay. Let me write it down, just in case the cloud dies. October 6th, 6 p.m. It'll be Zoom, public hearing. All right. Anne?
Yep.
Is that a conflict for you?
No,
Oh, you're looking up. Oh,
I spoke up when I had conflicts.
you mean I can count on you to talk, right? Okay.
Yes, until you tell me I'm done.
No, did I tell you? I didn't tell you you're done. You're coming back on the 6th. Full
No,
board.
I meant at a meeting. You're like, okay, be brief.
Who said that?
You did.
I did.
Everybody gets that. Don't worry.
I don't take offense.
Okay. Can I ask something of you?
Sure.
Since
You can
you-
ask.
Well,
anything.
I'm just figuring they pick up the phone for you before they do for us. Could you just alert somebody who's on the HR board about this on the 6th?
I can. As I said, they won't have discussed it yet at their public meeting on the 6th because their meeting isn't until the 8th, but I will let them know.
But we'll be able to get information from them about their history, which is useful.
Right. That's just, we may have some probative questions without asking for them to.
Harry will certainly. Yeah.
So,
And who else should we have here?
If
Or
you have
tell them it's a public
about-
meeting here.
if you have questions about data regarding the experience of the board, telling me what you need is going to get you the answers, whereas the HR board members themselves don't really track and keep all of that.
Okay.
So,
I'd be interested in hearing what people who have gone through the board feel about losing that board.
Well, we certainly,
it may be a bit early in the process to get that information, given that the biggest union, who is our most frequent flyer, will not have met on it yet. So,
How about Joe Callanan in terms of costs of litigation or things like that?
yeah,
But they could tell us about how they feel about the board, their experience.
you mean having town council answer that question?
No, I'm
No,
sorry.
somebody who has gone before the board can tell us what happened to them.
we
Sure.
can give notice,
Yeah.
certainly to the unions.
Yep.
This would be police, fire, AFSCME.
Teamsters,
Uh,
and engineers.
Could you do that, Ann? I'll send you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had engineers come before us. We have had AFSCME Maine come before us. We've had police and we've had fire.
Yeah, you know who's come before you, which is what, yeah. And you know who the key people are to contact, just to tell them we are having a public hearing on this. I'll be with you in a minute, Dick. And we are having a public hearing on this, and we will be discussing it further after that. Dick, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that it may be more theoretical than real, but there are also the non-union employees. I don't know whether you say you've never had a grievance from
That is correct.
them that's gone to the HRB, to the board. So, I mean, this will be publicly posted. I'm not sure. I don't know how you give notice to every non-union employee.
I
don't-
mean, we
I don't think-
we had in my 6 years, aside from grievance and people talking about things that were on the agenda, we have had one member of the public once, and that was Sam Mintz on something. He stayed for 5 minutes and then left.
We'll invite him to the
We
public
have lots
hearing.
of
Sure.
attendees.
Don, shame on you. Anne, you have been wonderful and brief.
Thank you very much.
I will put the data together for
Whatever you think of,
week
Ad.
from Monday. And
And straighten us out on what the article is.
Yeah. And two things, Anne, on what the article is. Obviously, it's good to know exactly what we're talking about. If what the select board would like to move differs from what's printed in the warrant, and I hope that's not the case, that's certainly within the prerogative of the select board to substitute another motion, as long as the moderator says it's within the scope. But as long as we're just dealing with one proposal and not several, it will simplify matters. And just to clarify, in case Jean wasn't clear, we would probably not vote at the public hearing on the 6th. And it would not be essential for every organization, including the HRB, to come in with the position. We'd be interested in what individuals had to say, and we probably would have more input before taking a vote at a subsequent meeting. But obviously time runs out because town meeting goes forward and the combined reports deadline looms. And I think I have that written down here just to remind.
I sent it to everybody. Sean, are you willing to take the lead on this?
Well, I think that Dick, Harry, and Kate have asked such incisive.
Well, Kate's got
informed-
something else.
I will tell you, I am in the middle of trying to plan a wedding in Washington, DC. remotely.
Congratulations, you're getting married?
Thank you, yeah. And then I'm going to be down there for a while before getting back, so I'm a little bit distracted.
I remember when she got engaged.
Yeah, there you go.
And she's getting married in DC where?
It's called the Decatur House. It's an old
Ooh,
historic
nice.
house. It was something that Jackie Kennedy put it into a trust and they redid it in
Yeah, that's
it
very
abuts the White
nice.
House grounds is where it is. So.
It's
Oh,
dark and
function
beautiful.
zone, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of yeah. We're gonna have to go through all of the ICE checkpoints or something. I don't know.
Whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
And anything else you want to add?
no, if one of you who had a version different than what I was talking about could send me what you got, that would be helpful so I can track it down and make sure we have one thing we're looking at.
What I can tell you, Anne, is what I have is what the town, let me just hold it up here. The town clerk, if you can see me, sent out a packet of
Okay.
warrant article.
Yep.
And another separate packet with the explanations, hard copy. And that's what I was working off.
Okay, I will get
Yeah.
that from Ben so that we're all on the same page and I can figure out where something didn't mesh,
Okay, great.
because that won't help anyone. Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Kate, Joe Callanan isn't here.
Oh, don't worry about it. You know what? Frankly, because of scope issues, everything I have to say is moot. So
Over
about
to
11,
you.
so I'll let Sean take it away.
So Sean, just to respond to your comment, I'm on the Expenditures and Revenues Study Committee, and we are moving toward deadlines at the end of the year. So I would not be able to do this.
Well, I think it's clear Ian should do it.
I can.
Ian, I can't even get, this is the first time I've ever scheduled your meeting in which somebody could not come. So I'm putting this aside. Kate, after everyone has passed the ball, Kate,
And I
can
will
do
be honest, I was thinking more that if we're going to do Articles 11 and 12, I might volunteer. There is a question, and I'm not sure if we can really get around it, that a number of us have been on or have appointed advisory committee members to, and I don't know whether there's any way we can really avoid having someone who's not already served on the advisory committee, appointed members of the advisory committee, take up Articles 11 and 12. But if that's something to keep in mind.
Kate,
That includes me too. So,
Yeah.
includes
Sorry.
But I
us.
would be willing to volunteer for 11 and 12 if we decide we're going to consider either or both of those. And it's hard for me to see the case for doing one and not the other.
I
Well,
thought the
you're right.
Gene Berg rule was you bring it up in front of, CTOS, you hosey it, You brought up Article 5, but I will bite the bullet and take it because I feel pretty strongly about it. I'll take
Article 5.
Yeah, Article 5. But I think you know my views on it.
Okay.
If anybody else wants it,
I will say I have an open mind on Article 5, but I feel strongly that it's sort of our mandate to take a look at it, and nothing in this discussion has made me think that it's not worth looking at because it's trivial, inconsequential, or uncontroversial. I think it might be the exact opposite of all of those.
I think it's absolutely worth looking at, but it's possible that my existing deep concerns already color my view of it. That would be the only problem I have with.
Well, you have to persuade the committee, so.
Yes. I
Yeah.
thought I already.
Okay,
Okay.
well,
don't worry.
just to
Tell me
move-
who's going to do 5, and we will vote on it eventually. But
I think Jean has, or Jean Kate has said that she is stepping up on 5 for now, and my understanding is that we are going to look at it. So
okay,
I don't.
so Kate, you've changed your mind. And 5, you're going to
I'm
take.
trying to hoist it off, but nobody's letting me. But
Yeah,
I
Kate
got
has
it. It's
been
my turn.
emailing
My
me
turn.
a great deal about another couple of articles. That's why I'm a little confused. But
Oh, I
anyway,
know.
a little
I
confused
know.
is okay.
Sean doesn't know that.
Okay, so we're
So-
on to 11, 12?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sean, do you want us to take 11 and 12 now? Not take them, present them.
Do not have a petitioner here for either. I understand that Jocelyn Murphy, petitioner of Article 12, is traveling, and it would be
Joe
most useful
isn't
to have town council here for Article 11. Or
We
member.
asked him, he isn't here.
But
I've
so
spoken with
I
him.
will say briefly, Article 11, as I understand it, arises from a particular case, even a particular member of the advisory committee, and a particular interpretation by town council. And the argument is Carol Levin, who serves on the school building committee for Pierce School, I believe, is a very important member of that committee. But under town council's interpretation, that is a committee, a standing committee that has some responsibility over the expenditure of funds. Even though building committees don't last forever, they last for a long time. And therefore, in town council's opinion, it's difficult to square Carol's service on the advisory committee with her service on the school building committee. And therefore, Article 11 would make it clear that advisory committee members can serve on school building committees. In fact, there's a strong reason why they should. They can offer some very important insights on school building committees or school building committees more generally.
I think state
That's
law.
how I understand Article 11, but
I think
there's
state
more to
law
it.
requires it. I think state law requires it, and that's sort of the rub that our town bylaw and the state law are in conflict. For MSBA, that's what I understood. No,
Yeah, the
Harry's telling me no. That's what I'd heard, that for MSBA, there
The-
had to be something from a member of the finance committee on there.
The MSBA rules say it's suggested that a
Not
finance
required.
person, such as somebody, I believe, from the comptroller's office or a member of the town's finance committee, but
Okay.
it's not written in stone.
All right, so it's not required. I thought it was required. Okay.
My
Um,
understanding was that it was just a potential valuable insight that could be offered by someone with that kind of background.
Yeah, and I
As-
think what's being offered is for any building project, somebody could be on there,
Right. Not just school building committees, but
right? But I think it does also open up a larger question, which will not be resolved in this warrant article, as to whether that should extend to other things. I mean, one of the things that our town bylaw rests on is this notion of, if it's a board, committee, commission that expends any funds. Well, I don't know how you define that. I mean, if I go out and buy stationery, is that expending funds? I don't know where you draw that line. Or if there's another approach that could be involved, where at the discretion of the select board, they may appoint somebody to a committee, board, or commission. And if you have to recuse yourself because there's a pecuniary interest, you do that. I mean, it would give latitude to the select board if they thought a particular expertise was needed on a specific committee. That's not embedded in this proposed warrant article, and it couldn't be at this point. But I think there's a number of things that sort of fold into this conversation.
According to
I-
Joe Callanan, what is meant by control over the expenditure of funds has to do with any spending of taxpayer money. So there's $1,000 given to basically every ethnic committee, Indigenous Peoples Committee, MLK,
Yeah,
Juneteenth, et cetera.
Mhm.
So people would be prohibited from serving on those boards and the advisory committee.
Right.
But those are
Yeah.
fairly limited.
yeah, just the explanation relative to the MSBA that's given in the Article 11 explanation is that the MSBA requirements mandate a, quote, municipal budget official, specifically defined to include a member of the municipal finance committee, quote unquote. So
Wow.
it appears to be a mandate, but it could be somebody other apparently than an advisory committee member. Looking at 11 and 12, I think the issue really was posed by Kate. The MLK committee, for example, expends money. So can an advisory committee member not sit on that? What about the town school partnership? Can an advisory committee member, are they excluded from the town school partnership?
well, Dick, two very specific cases in terms of committees in which this has come up. And one of them, may not be an issue anymore, are Council on Aging
Yep,
and also trustees of the Walnut Hill Cemetery.
yep,
Advisory committee members have served or do serve on both of those town, committees or bodies. We don't have to look beyond that even to find real world examples of this being an issue. Article 12, as submitted, might not resolve all of those questions, but it tries to inject some clarity and not
Yeah.
focus just on one person and on the building committee question.
yeah. What it does is the prohibition on advisory committee membership is limited to standing boards or committees. And Article 12 defines those as permanent boards or committees, which
The Walnut
Um,
Hill Cemetery would be one, but the Pierce School would not.
in my view, the Pierce School Committee is not a standing board or committee. It's not something
Who's
that
the author of 12?
Jocelyn
Uh,
Murphy.
Jocelyn Murphy, former town council.
All right, and so we are in a
and-
position, Dick, you say, of taking on the town council's interpretation of of the bylaws.
Well, I mean, I find the extension of it to the Pierce School Building Committee to be somewhat difficult to understand. I do not see that as a standing committee.
But
I
even if
think
town
artic-
council is absolutely right, Dick, why extend it just to one category when there might be others that it should be extended to?
Article
they-
12 is correct in that, yeah. Extending it, defining standing as permanent may address that issue. Then you get to the language having charge of the expenditure of money, and Article 12 defines that as having control of or responsibility for the expenditure of money. I'm not sure that that sheds much light on
That seems pretty broad.
having charge of the expenditure of money as opposed to having control of or responsibility for the
Distinction without a
expenditure.
difference. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that clarifies the situation.
And it
but
doesn't note that this is taxpayer money, public funds, or, any specific type.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
it's Joe's interpretation alone that it applies to taxpayer money. I don't know where he came up with that.
Well, I think the article that's being offered is dealing with sort of a narrow difficulty. And
Yeah.
that is on building projects wanting to have expertise there that resides on the advisory committee. And this is a way to accomplish that if we update our bylaws, if town meeting votes favorably.
and I think Article
of the ripple
12
effect, that it doesn't address, but I think it's something that certainly should probably be part of the conversation, at least to sow the seeds of further discussion as to where the edges really are or where maybe they should be or shouldn't be.
There are a lot of ways that this could turn out. Combining these into one warrant article that covers a number of eventualities, voting for one, maybe tweaking the language and referring the other, or referring both of them. And there are different ways I think we could approach it, and I'm not prejudging the outcome here. But I think it's worth taking up these two articles and considering them together. I would think that any comments at a public hearing on one would most likely be relevant to a public hearing on the other.
I agree. And
We don't need to multiply our meetings by 2.
I would add that I think there's a fundamental question of whether it is inappropriate for a member of the advisory committee to be on even a permanent board or a I mean, is there something that is inherently improper or inefficient or somehow to be avoided in having an advisory committee member on another board or commission that expends town funds?
I imagine whenever this was passed, and I don't remember when, that it was probably predicated on the notion you want to avoid the possibility of double dealing, so to speak. And that would be a way to do it. But I think it would be hard to pull off. In retrospect, it seems a little more cynical than it needs to be.
Yeah.
And perhaps not as good for the community as a whole as it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're losing some of the expertise and the cross-fertilization of that expertise between committees, you are losing something.
Well, you
I mean, look
certainly
at
can
a
make a
building.
distinction. Go ahead, Kate.
A building committee would have architects on it, and you need architects on the AC, as well as the financial expertise. I mean, I can see it with more permanent boards, but I think that these could be more narrowly tailored, which we can't do, to allow to have more exceptions, so that, I mean, on its face, okay, you can't, we'll eliminate all these ethnic groups, people in all these ethnic groups from being on the AC if they want to be on those boards. Not that it's a huge thing to step off a committee, but it looks bad, or maybe limit the amount of funds that it would apply to, and as a former moderator, it ain't easy to find people for committees, and or for the AC, and having the pool limited even more, especially the qualified, really knowledgeable people, is problematic. Neil isn't bothered by any of this, for what it's worth. And Sandy was the one who originally proposed the modification to the article, and I think it was for conflict of interest reasons. That's what he
The
said.
Article 11 modification, the narrow.
Yeah. Well, no. No. He was the one who put in the dual,
The original.
yeah, right.
Ah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah.
That they should be on the advisory committee, but not on the Walnut
Okay.
Hill Cemetery.
Right.
I don't know
Alright.
why was somebody needs to be on to, but they do, so
So are we taking these up?
I think that's a yes.
I think that Sean or Dick, who's doing these?
This is Sean.
Dick, are you there?
Yeah, as I said, I'm going to be in the midst of the
That shouldn't stop you.
non-override.
Yeah.
Override.
God.
The
That's
only question is when we have our public hearing.
the same date.
Oh, that's fine then. It might be a long night, but let's get it over.
The same day, both articles, yeah.
Great.
The 3 articles, excuse me. There'll be 3 articles.
Okay, sure.
All
Good.
right. And then
So-
we'll have as much time as you want to discuss after that. And of course, it'll say you can take a vote. I doubt if you will, but whatever happens, happens.
Okay, that's good. The 6th for
All
everything.
right. Any other business? We've got a date. We've
Yeah,
done
who has the
meeting.
minutes? Who has the minutes for today? Is this you again, Jean?
I'll do it. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I keep getting
I'd hope to give
emails
it to
saying
Betsy, but
dinner
there's
is
no.
ready.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
My wife keeps sending me emails saying dinner is ready.
Oh, you eat late. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Well, only
Okay.
because these meetings run long.
All right. And also, I'll schedule on the agenda. We'll all plan the flowers for Harry's wedding. I think we should
Okay.
give. Yeah. We know how to plan a wedding, right? Dick will figure it out. All right. Any other business? We are adjourned. Oh, I have to vote. Everybody ready to adjourn? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Unanimous.
And I'll see
All
you
right.
shortly.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
good night all.